This is ESPR Boxing. Delighted as always to be joined by Greg. We are a couple of days away now from May 27th. As always here at ESPR, we're always trying to think forward. I think we're just being a bit greedy and thinking what could happen next in all these fights. Obviously, Greg, we've got these three massive main events on Saturday: Okolie versus Billam Smith. Leigh Wood is rematching Lara for what was his world title, and Michael Conlan is against Luis Alberto Lopez in his second attempt to become world champion. We've discussed undercards. We've discussed what is the main event that you want to see. Final video that we're doing now is what is the result you want to see, and why do you want to see that result? I think there's big big fights for whoever wins any of these three fights. I think obviously Conlan and Leigh Wood are probably at the stage of their career now where if they win, they kind of want big fights only, I imagine. So yeah, obviously there's Okolie. Could Okolie move up to heavyweight if he wins? Could he fight Richard Riakporhe? There's a lot to divulge here, but what I want to know from you is what is the one result you want to see on May 27th?
Yeah, thanks, Elliot, for having me as always. It's a tough one because you've kind of got to split allegiances there. CBS and Okolie, those guys are both English, I suppose, down your guys' neck of the woods. You've maybe got more passion who you really want to win that fight in the most respectful way because it's a world title that's still staying in Britain. That's the way to look at it. Conlan almost deserved to beat Leigh Wood, but you can almost say that if Leigh Wood showed that determination, he deserved to beat Conlan because it takes a lot to stop someone in the last round. Okay, Elliot, I'm going to cut the chase. I really want to see Leigh Wood beat Mauricio Lara. That guy Lara is really getting on my nerves. I think he's a good puncher. I think he's very ballsy. But I'm dying to see someone stand up and just really box his ears off because I think it can be done. But I think you need to be so razor focused to do it. So I think I want to see Leigh Wood beat Mauricio Lara the most. I think that's the one that I've really got the passion about. And I feel I've got an affiliation with Michael Conlan as well, big time. But just that fight, the balls that Leigh Wood is showing, it's gripped me a little bit. So I think that's the one for me.
Yeah, I think we all watched the first fight. We all know how that fight was going, how that fight ended. And yeah, I think a lot of people want to see Leigh Wood do it. A lot of people think that he is capable of doing it after what they saw in the first fight as well. In terms of what Leigh Wood winning would lead to, the featherweight division, obviously it's a pack division, isn't it? And I think Leigh Wood, I believe he's 34 now. I think he's turned 35 fairly soon. So you'd think he might only have a couple of fights left, possibly in his career. What if that is the case and he only has a couple of fights left, Greg? What would you want to see him do? As we know, I think there's that Josh Warrington fight has been mentioned for a while. I think that's a possibility. That fight could be in a kind of a sold out arena somewhere in the country.
Yeah.
As we know, there's unification fights. There's the winner of Luis Alberto versus Conlan as well. Let's not forget that. Rey Vargas is obviously a top name in the division. Robsy Ramirez, top name in the division. You know, those fights could possibly happen in America if Leigh Wood wants to do that. Yeah, Leigh Wood is victorious on May 27th. What's the one fight that you would want that to lead to?
It's a really, really good question because you've automatically got the pull to Conlan and Lopez in a unification. But I kind of want to see Leigh Wood go across the Atlantic and, really go for it. A Brandon Figueroa, who is independently regarded as number one in the division. Or I think sometimes Leigh Wood looks a little bit tight of the weight. Why not let him move up? Why not let him move up and take on one of the other champions? Maybe one of the more, I don't want to say the softer champions. There's no such thing as a soft champion, Elliot, but someone that you can really get your teeth into. You don't want him to move up and have someone who's really established. at super feather who's looking to move up to lightweight, because that's not necessarily fair either. For me, I'd love to see him fight Brandon Figueroa. I think those styles really, really gel.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of those fights that is very winnable for both guys. I really, really do.
Mm.
Imagine Lee Wood going to Vegas, going to New York, and just having a trade-off with Figueroa. I would stay up for that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting old. I'm getting old, Elliot, and I would stay up for that. I'm telling you that now. I would. So yeah, I think that's the one for me.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a big fan of Brandon Figueroa as well. I think his defeat, I think a lot of people forget he gave Stephen Fulton a very, very close fight at super bantamweight a few months ago. If you look at what Stephen Fulton's at now, he's obviously about to fight Inoue, and he thinks he's got a good chance against Inoue as well. So yeah, I'm not against that fight at all. Obviously, look, we don't know what's going to happen May 27th, but if Lee Wood wins, hopefully that's one of the names that's being mentioned. Before we end this video, might sound like we're kind of playing fantasy boxing here, but you mentioned there Lee Wood is maybe a bit tight to the weight. I agree with you. I think win or lose, this could possibly be his last fight at featherweight. I thought he did look quite gaunt, quite tight at the weigh-in in February. We'll see what he looks like on May the 26th, the weigh-in before the Lara rematch. Joe Cordina is a world champion at super featherweight. Joe Cordina and Lee Wood are both matchroom fighters. Thoughts on that fight possibly happening this time next year? Maybe. I think Joe Cordina wants a unification fight in his next fight. I don't think he's maybe going to wait for Lee Wood to fight in May and then fight Lee Wood in, I don't know, November, December. I wouldn't think, but yeah, thoughts on that being a possibility?
Bad fight for Lee Wood. I think Cordina might just be a little bit too cute. He might have a bit too much boxing ability. He knows how to, probably with the greatest respect, Joe Cordina, he's an exciting fighter at times, but I think if I'm coaching Joe Cordina, I'm telling him, stink the place out, jab Lee Wood's head off, stay away from him, win wide points. And I think that's what might happen, unless he stops him late in the second half. But Elliot, that's a guy who I think is tight at that weight and could even step up to lightweight as well. And that's the point that I'm making. I don't want to see Lee Wood go up and take on a giant. And I think Joe Cordina, he's phenomenal. Like the way that he's physically built, he's like really neat. But I think neat is the best word, because I think at his age and the amount of fights he's had at that weight, I think he's almost looking to move up. But if you're asking me about that fight, I think that's one for Lee Wood I'd maybe just avoid. I think that Cordina might just be a little bit too cute for him.
Yeah. We shall see. That suggestion's not gone down well, but we'll see. You never know what happens in the future.
It's a good fight. It's a good fight.
Yeah. You never know. Lee Wood has to get past Mauricio Lara first. Greg, yeah, been good to talk about May 27th at length with you as well. We've done a few videos on this. Really looking forward to it now. This video was just kind of a bit of fun. We're not kind of assuming Lee Wood's gonna beat Lara. We were just kind of exploring the opportunities if that does happen. All right. Nice to speak to you, Greg. And yeah, we'll definitely speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Elliot, as always.